We have plenty of Derby preps this weekend. In fact, four of them. This video, we're going to look at the Southwest Stakes and the Withers. And in one of these, I have a 20 to 1 shot for value that you don't want to miss.
And I have a horse that I completely dismissed last time out as my top pick.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Doubling Down channel on YouTube. I'm Colin. He's Vinny. And normally you can catch us on Doubling Down, which will drop on Friday, where we'll look at some Saturday Derby preps. Vinny, it's rare that we get back-to-back days with two Derby preps, but due to the weather on the East Coast here, we have the Withers Stakes on Friday and the Southwest Stakes on Friday at Oaklawn Park. So we figured we'd throw together a video and looking at the fields, looking at the pace, looking at some value. Vinny, do you think this over a course of Friday's two races, do we have any legit Derby contenders? We'll start there.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think the favorite in the Withers, as a spoiler alert, if he looks good, I think might be one of Chad Brown's best horses in his barn, as well, best 3-year-olds in his barn. So we'll see there. But yeah, I think it's going to be a weekend of racing. Hopefully, some of these horses will at least make the gate. We've had a couple big scratches as of late, especially Ted Noffey, but we'll see.
Yeah, so we'll dive right into it. The Southwest Stakes is race 11 for Friday. Don't miss it. The number 5 litmus test is the scratch that we have to talk about because litmus test I think is a horse that's high on a lot of people's Derby top 10 rankings, and he's going to be out of this race for trainer Bob Baffert. Uh, what do you think? How does
Yeah,
that affect the race?
I mean, Baffert still got butane. I'm gonna guess that's why both were entered. I think he figured one of them was going to end up scratching. I've heard that litmus test is going to stay home, but kind of bad that like originally it was, well, we can't get a flight for him, so he's gonna scratch, and then the race moved, and now it's like, hey, like something came up, and now he's gonna scratch. We're gonna keep him home and just work him. I don't think everything's perfect there, so definitely one to keep an eye on next time out. But I mean, definitely changes how you look at this race because on paper he was the morning line favorite, and his numbers were very strong coming into this one. So without him, it kind of opens the race up a little bit to make it a little bit more of a competitive betting race, in my opinion, which is nice. So I like it from that aspect.
Yeah, I thought the field was very nice. I think you get a good, really competitive race here. And I thought you could go a lot of different ways. Vinny, I want to ask you about the pace scenario because what I wrote down is that I have the 1, 2. I previously had the 5, obviously, litmus test. I thought he was going to be part of that early pace. The 9, the 10, the 12, the 13. I have all these horses being on the front end here. And I think that that's going to set up very nicely for a horse coming from off the pace. That's going to be a nice price, who I'll get into in a little bit. Do you foresee the pace in this race being on the hot side of pace?
Yeah, I think this is gonna be a quick pace. There are definitely a couple horses in here who I would be surprised that if they don't go out right away and gun the lead. Now, I feel like we get races like this all the time, and like one horse will like just be super aggressive, and nobody else want to be aggressive, and then it ends up being like a moderate pace. Everyone's just like, why did none of the other speed horses go? So I'm hoping this isn't one of those races, because I do like a horse that's coming from a little bit off the pace. But yeah, I think on the overall though, I think this should be a faster pace. I don't think you should expect this to be a. I would be shocked if they went like 49 to the half here. I think you're gonna get. I think you're gonna get like low 47s. I don't even know if you'll get to the 48. I think you're gonna get a pretty quick pace here.
The wild card to me, which the rankings have for Racelands on top, and my model came up with the horse on top, is the number 2, Decode. This is kind of the horse I think you need to figure out what you're doing with, and then that is the domino, at least for me, and I think for everybody else, that determines what you're going to end up doing, right? I mean, you think this horse from a speed figure standout just absolutely pops off the page. A 107 Equibase speed figure in that first race of his. It was a monster effort. He goes wire to wire. The race was only 6 furlongs, Vinny. The 107, I mean, the next highest speed figure that I see is the 94 on with Soldier Diplomat, and then a 90 with Strategic Risk. So that's a 13-point difference from what Decode put up and these other horses put up. But first of all, this race was 6 furlongs. I looked back at the dam. She was basically a sprinter. Spitestown over the last 5 years in the second start with the first route, 4 winners out of 22, pulled that off of Racelens. 3 of those 4 winners were all really big long shots, right? Like, there were big prices. So, the horses that had favorites or low odds did not run well, and to me, at least looking at the breeding, trying to put together, is Dakota a horse I'm gonna wanna use? I think, even though everything's telling me to, I think I'm gonna go the other way. Where are you with Decode?
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like he got away from the gate great in that last race, and I mean he went 6 furlongs. He went 22:45. Like that, like being on the front end and being able to go 45 in a sprint,
Mm,
like is not fast. I know it was first time out, so not taking anything away from what he did, but he really was not. He wasn't really pressured there. I mean, that was a hand ride, and yeah, maybe he is just that good. But between that and getting away with a soft pace, and then the breeding, like you said, a Spitestown, who I've liked some Spitestowns on the Derby Trail in the past, and none of them have really panned out. But then the Dam Sire is Twirling Candy, another
mm.
sprinter. Like, I guess if he gets a soft lead, sure, maybe he can replicate that. But I have a feeling like this horse is going to hit a wall around that seven furlong 1 mile mark, and at a low price, I want nothing to do with him. I mean, he might be the favorite. He might be a second co-favorite, second choice with Butane here for Baffert. I just don't see how you can like. I feel like he's the perfect horse to play against here.
Yeah, I agree, and don't forget, Vinny, it's also only the horse's second start. Like, I kinda glossed over that fact when I read out the stats, but in this race, yes, he could be the monster. Yes, he could wire us and make us look like fools. But from a looking for value and betting standpoint, I'm gonna agree with you to fade Decode. And then we both are very high on the number 9 horse, Strategic Risk. Would you like to give some thoughts on why you have this horse on top?
Yeah, I did not like him at all last time. I thought it was a weird move being a Florida bred that they were shipping him to Oaklawn for the Smarty Jones instead of running him in the Mucho Macho Man, which was at his home track at Gulfstream. I thought it was very strange that they were doing that. And then he came out and like he looked really good in the Smarty Jones. I know the number did not come back super strong here in the Smarty Jones. I think he only got what, like a 90 Equibase figure, I believe, or a
He got a 90,
90.
yes.
Yeah, like I know it didn't come back super strong, but just visually, he was just better than this field. And that's ultimately why I liked him. I thought, like you said, I think there's going to be a good amount of speed. He showed he could rate. He's got a win over the track. Cassie kept him here, so it wasn't like it was like oh hey, we're gonna go steal a cheap win at Oaklawn, and then we're gonna ship him back and have him face a little bit less in some state bred racing. Cassie kept him here, and like he just looked good here. I have, I I texted you after this race and kind of felt stupid that I completely tossed him, but he was much the best this day. And I don't see why he's not going to improve off of this effort. Maybe like Butane and some or like the Code are just better than he is. But I'm going to get third choice on a horse that already has a win over the track. Like I'm fine with that. I'll take it.
I'm gonna go to that same race, Vinny, but I'm telling you the value in this race for me is the number 11 Silent Tactic. That's my 20 to 1 shot who I'm going to put up on for my value play. He's coming out of that same Smarty Jones that you just talked about. And yes, I was impressed with Strategic Risk as well, but it was a if you look right here over on the right, the F means that it was a the path the bias that day was front on the track. Strategic Risk was sitting second in a pace that went 24:49, 114, right? So he had the pace advantage in that race. Whereas this horse, Silent Tactic, who started off a maiden special weight at Woodbine, going a mile and the 16th on the Poly, then is entered in a grade 3 up at Woodbine, finishes second behind the Big Con, was 3 to 5 wide in that race. He's the one that really closed on that front end that was slow that day in the Smarty Jones. Now, he finished 4.5 lengths behind Strategic Risk, and I think people might look at that and say, oh, he's 4 lengths behind Strategic Risk, so he's not as good as Strategic Risk. I I think that at 9 to 2 for Strategic Risk and at 20 to 1 for Silent Tactic, this horse can improve. He went 77, 86, 83. So 86, 83 to me is close enough to be paired. He was 4 wide over here on the right side that you can see, and he was going against the bias and the pace in that race. Number 11,
Yep.
Silent Tactic, is a $500,000 Tacitus out of a gun runner mare. What's wrong with that about maybe coming back? He's got the three races at a mile and the 16th under his belt. That is much more intriguing to me than Decode with the 1 6 furlong race who went fast and put up a 107. I'm telling you, Vinny, every now and then on these Derby trails, I come up with a nice little price, and I feel really good about Silent Tactic in the Southwest
Yeah,
Stakes. So think about that one for you.
yeah. The other Marquez, I mean, play the two Cassies. You know that maybe that's your exacta. You play the two Cassies together. Like it's a
Boom.
Mark Cassie every now and again has a yeah. Every now and again he's got a like he catches a price on the Derby Trail. So yeah, I mean I'm not gonna call you crazy for that one. Again, the race where your favorite might only have a 6 furlong race under his belt, and the second choice like Butane I don't think has had a start since he lost to what was Butane's last start?
San Vicente, January 10th.
Yeah, yeah. So like, and he didn't win. Like he went off the favorite and didn't win. So like you're betting him on the fact that he came in second behind Ted Noffey in the hopeful really. Like I don't know. It seems like the you know you can kind of punch holes in the top few betting choices. I mean even
Exactly.
strategic risk I'm not sure is like a you know I'm not saying he's a lock, but you know you give me 4 to 1 on strategic risk and I'm happy. But yeah, you know this is definitely a good betting race in my opinion.
Yeah, check out that short I dropped with Mystic Dan 2 years ago, 12 to 1. It was Bob Baffert who had the 4 to 1 favorite in that race and didn't run as well. Let's change our attention over to Aqueduct. We have again another Friday Derby prep. I kind of like it. I kind of like this little Friday Derby prep
We
right
got
into Saturday Derby prep. Like maybe we can convince the powers that be that this is even if you get one on Friday, or it's interesting. Or later in the Derby prep, you also have that one on the Sunday too. Is it the one at Turfway or is it the Lexington? What one of those preps ends up on it? Oh, Sunland
yeah, one of
Park.
them.
What's the
Yeah,
Sunland
Sunland, the
Park one?
Sunland Derby. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they. Yep, yep.
S- So love it. I love getting two of them preps back to back. Field of seven. Vinny, I asked you before the show, and it was going to be one thing that we talked about. Is I thought we should just ask the question: is this a race that you would bet? Because to me, especially when I like a horse like Silent Tactic at 20 to 1, that feels a lot more attractive as far as a betting race is concerned. And when I look over here and I see a field of seven, and I have a horse who's a half to gun runner, the number 3 Otino, wonder if it's kind of just a horse that how much am I going to make off of him if I feel he's as good as if performs as good as I think he might be? Is this a race that you would be interested in betting?
Yeah, depending on the price on Otino, I am interested. You know, if we get a good price on him, I feel like he's you know if we get like even money or like 6 to 5, I think he's worth the win bet. I think this horse is has potential to be one of the best 3 year olds in Chad's barn. Uh, the other thing though is the opposite. If you don't like him, this is going to be your favorite. Like you are going to have it's a great betting race for you if you don't like him. My issue when I looked at this was I thought really the only horse that I thought had a really good shot of like a more than just like a prayer shot of beating him is his stablemate, and I don't think Schoolyard Superman's that great. Um, I don't think he's nearly as good. So I was kind of like, all right, well, every other horse, I feel like if I'm picking him to win, I'm kind of hoping that Otino takes a step backwards, and doesn't even like because I feel like even if he pairs that last race, he could win. So I think it's a good betting race if depending on what the public does.
Mm.
I think there's a good chance that he is, even like that. Like if the true odds are 7-5, like that's a win bet in my opinion. You just play him to win, or if you like one of the races around him, you single him in a double. Um, but like I think this is a perfect chance where you can just like double up a little bit of bankroll. Nothing crazy, but get you can get 490 back for every $2. Like it's not the worst.
Another race that comes back with hot pace. A lot of horses that have shown not as much, but you got the 2, the 3 who went wire to wire, the 5, the 6, and the 7 who's a front end horse. So certainly it's shaping up. It appears on paper to have a lot of speed on the front end. You talked about Otino, who won on New Year's Eve. Flavian Prat aboard in a maiden special weight. Switches to Jose Lascano here, which is an interesting adjustment.
I'm guessing it is because of the race having to be redrawn because of the cancel. I can't remember correctly, but I believe Pratt was on him last Saturday, if I
Ye
remember the entries.
Yeah, I don't remember, but I do know that Pratt is on Rancho Santa Fe at Oaklawn,
Yeah,
which is Brad Cox
yeah,
switching
like
from Giroux to Pratt on that horse, which is a great angle that I forgot to mention in that Southwest. Hits at 38% over the last 3 years, so pay attention to that one, but, does that give you any concern in here?
not really. I mean, Chad doesn't use Lascano that often, but like if this horse is as good as I think he is, like really Lascano just kind of has to hold on and hit go, when they turn for home. Like that's I don't if this horse is as good as advertised, I don't think he really, I don't. It's a small field, so I don't think he's gonna have to sit there and like try to weave in and out of traffic and like carve out a trip and time it perfectly. I feel like if he rides him like he's the best horse in the race, and he is, you know, he'll show him the whip turning for home. He'll shake the reins a little bit, and he'll be off. I don't think he'll keep them out, which might be disappointing for some people. I feel like if this horse wins, I highly doubt he keeps them out. But like I don't think it's a bad backup.
Yeah, to me, it's a race I'm gonna pass on, I think. The one horse that I'm interested in with a little bit of a price is the 5, Mailata. Um, these are the horses I don't like. I generally don't
Yeah.
care for these types of horses, but I don't know, there's something that I just keep coming back to him. Um, 3 times, 3 for 3 of his last 3 races, they were at Parks. One of those was at a mile, then cut back to 7 furlongs, won by 19 lengths last time. Of course, it was a 3-horse race, so don't know how much you really wanna put into that one. You probably actually just crossed the line through that race. But this horse did pop up on my data, so to me, it I my data pulls the top 4, so in a 7-horse race, I have to keep that in mind. But the 5 at 6 to 1, like, even if I like this horse, that's not price I want, and knowing that
Yeah.
the 2 and the 3 are in here, like, I said we have to pick a value horse, so that was kind of the one that have been thinking about, but to me, it ends up just becoming a pass race. Did you have anybody other than the 3 maybe at a
Nah.
price that you could toss in here, or is it pretty straightforward?
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward for me, but I will say, like, if you like a horse like this and you are trying to play multi-race tickets, you'll probably get more than like that 6-1 in the multi-races because you're gonna get a lot of people here in the multi-race sequence that are just gonna pick the chew Chad Browns and move on and hope that they're right. And now, like, I think there is a good chance that they will be right, but this horse might, like this horse here, he might only pay 14, $16 if he actually wins. But he's a horse that could absolutely blow up a pick 3 or pick 4 because nobody's using him in those multi-race pools. So like if you like a horse like this, like I would recommend using him in like those type of situations rather than like yes, you can still just play him to win if you want. But I think the more bang for your buck in that instance is playing him in the multis where like he could be 20-1 and like all of a sudden your dollar pick 3 is paying $250 with chalk and like 6-1 because nobody used him. So I do think you can make value there. I think like you said, the issue is you have to get around two horses that, from a stat standpoint, kind of stand a little bit above the field.
Yeah, absolutely. But for me, I'll just be focusing on the Southwest Stakes at least for Friday. Hope you enjoyed our thoughts on these two prep races. I want to give a shout out to Jay Worm who sent us along this nice new close. Don't forget to get into the app doublingdown.glide.page. You can play along with us. We have free coffee from SureBet to give away to the top three finishers. On doubling down this week, Vinny, we're going to display some trading cards that we got from uh, artist David
Batista,
Batista. His
Bartista,
name just
Bartista, Bartista. I
I
forget
know.
exactly how to say his last name.
We'll get it. We'll get
We'll
it
pull
right
him
for
up.
doubling
Yep.
down, and we will show you the cool
Yep.
cards that I got. Each of us got one. I got one for Forever Young. His artwork is extremely cool. He's offered to throw up a prize for us coming up in our June contest. So we'll have those to show off to you. We've got prizes every month. I don't know what else we could do. We got picks in the app that have been on fire lately. It's David Barista. That's what it is.
Barista.
So
Okay, we were
shout out
close.
David.
We combined it. We
I,
combined it.
I had like Bautista in
Yeah.
my mind from the Hall of Fame immediately is what popped in, and I was working on some
Oh.
Toronto Blue Jay logos today, and that's what came into my mind. But it's David Barista,
Are we doing
davidbarista.com.
the Sam F. Davis, or are we doing the Robert B. Lewis for doubling down?
Ooh, I think people will have to tune in to see. I tend to think we're going south. But anyways, here's the video from Jay Worm who did a great job for our close. We thank you. And until next time, I'm Colin, he's Vinny. Good luck, everybody.